For most of your life, you've probably been told some version of the same message. You're too much, too intense, too sensitive, too emotional. Maybe you're the guy who tears up easily, not only when something hurts, but when something is beautiful. A song hits the right note, a speech lands, a scene in a film reminds you of your father, or you catch a sunset that looks like it was painted just for you, and you hate that your eyes betray you. You learned early that men aren't supposed to do that, so you trained yourself to swallow it, laugh it off, clench your jaw, change the subject. Or maybe it's not tears. Maybe it's how strongly you react to environments. Loud rooms drain you, crowds overwhelm you. Certain people leave you feeling like you ran a marathon. Your brain doesn't just move on, it replays, it analyzes, it remembers every tone shift, every facial expression, every moment you sensed something was off. So you did what most men do. You made it a character flaw. You tried to toughen up. You tried to numb out. You tried to be less. But here's the truth that a lot of men never hear. Your intensity isn't evidence of weakness. It's evidence of a different nervous system. And once you understand what that means, your whole life becomes easier to design. There's a trait researchers call sensory processing sensitivity. In simple terms, it means your brain takes in more information, processes it more deeply, and reacts more strongly to stimulation. Noise, light, textures, social tension, emotional signals, even your own internal states. Estimates often place it around 20% of the population. Not rare, but not the default. And if you're a man with this trait, the world can feel like it wasn't built for you. Because modern culture sells one model of masculinity: thicker skin, higher tolerance, more noise, less feeling. You're supposed to be the guy who can work through chaos, shrug off stress, laugh at discomfort, and keep moving. You're supposed to be a dandelion, resilient, low maintenance, able to grow anywhere. But nature never bet everything on one strategy. If you go back to how humans survived in small tribes, you can see the logic. Most of the group needed to be hardy. They needed to sleep on the ground, eat whatever was available, endure cold nights, march long distances, and fight when necessary. But a tribe made entirely of warriors has a blind spot. They push forward fast. They miss subtle signs. They don't notice the wind change until the storm is already on top of them. They don't smell the food that's off until half the camp is sick. They don't read the mood shift in a neighboring group until it turns into a threat. The tribe needed another type, the early warning system. The men and women whose nervous systems were tuned to the small signals, the almost invisible cues, the slight change in tone, the movement in the bushes that didn't belong, the social tension that meant trouble before trouble arrived. That person wasn't built to bulldoze the environment. He was built to detect it. You can call the majority dandelions, sure. Tough, flexible, hard to kill. And you can call the sensitive minority orchids. Complex, responsive, highly affected by conditions. But notice what that implies. An orchid isn't broken, it's just specific. It doesn't thrive on a concrete sidewalk. It thrives in a greenhouse, and that's the piece most men miss. You keep trying to become a dandelion. You keep forcing yourself into concrete environments, then blaming yourself for withering. But the real move isn't to harden yourself until you can tolerate anything. The real move is to build a life that fits your nervous system, to engineer your greenhouse. Psychologists sometimes use the term vantage sensitivity, which points to something crucial. If you're highly sensitive, harsh environments hit you harder, yes, but good environments also benefit you more. You don't just do fine in the right conditions. You outperform. You create. You connect. You think in layers. You notice what others miss. You produce work with depth. You lead with precision. You build relationships with uncommon loyalty and insight. That's the trade. High cost in chaos. High reward in the right conditions. And right now, if you feel exhausted all the time, it doesn't mean you're weak. It often means you're living in an evolutionary mismatch. Your system was designed for high stakes but low velocity. One deep signal could mean life or death, a twig snap, a distant shout, a strange smell, a shift in a person's eyes. The input was meaningful and occasional, so your brain could process it fully. But you don't live in a quiet forest. You live in a world of high velocity noise. Traffic, notifications, open plan offices, constant screens, bright lighting, crowded schedules, endless micro interactions, and an emotional fire hose of news and social media. And if your nervous system doesn't filter aggressively, you're absorbing more than you can metabolize. So your engine redlines while you're doing nothing. You wake up tired. You finish normal days feeling fried. You need isolation not because you hate people, but because your mind has been doing deep processing nonstop. That's not a mindset issue. That's an input issue. So let's stop trying to motivate you with slogans. Let's talk strategy. We're going to build your greenhouse across two domains, your body and your interactions. Because for a high sensitivity man, those are the two gates. What you let in through your senses and what you let in through other people. First, your body, your sensory reality. There's a concept used in occupational therapy called a sensory diet. It's exactly what it sounds like. Your nervous system consumes stimulation the way your body consumes food. Some input nourishes you. Some input depletes you. Most. Men never learn to track this because they're taught to ignore their bodies unless something breaks. But you can't afford that. You are a high performance instrument. If you treat yourself like a blunt tool, you'll pay for it every day. So here's your first principle. Reduce depleting input, then increase nourishing input, not one or the other. Both. Let's start with what depletes you. Noise is one of the biggest offenders. If you're the guy who gets drained in loud environments, stop calling it being dramatic. A loud room isn't just annoying, it's physiological load. Your system is processing each layer, voices, music, clattering, movement, and it doesn't shut off. Noise canceling headphones are not a luxury. They're protective equipment. Reframe it the way you would reframe knee braces or safety goggles. If your job requires you to be in sensory chaos, you are not weak for protecting your nervous system. You're disciplined. Same with lighting. Harsh overhead lighting, constant screen glare, and bright environments keep your system in a subtly activated state. If you can shift your workspace to softer light, do it. If you can take breaks outside into natural light, do it. If you can wear a cap or use screen filters, do it. This is not aesthetics. This is regulation. And then there's crowd density. If you're sensitive, your brain is tracking everyone. Your peripheral awareness stays on. You might not even notice you're doing it, but your body does. So you need recovery windows built into your day. This is where the idea of a restorative niche matters. A niche is a physical pocket where you can let your system idle. It doesn't have to be a perfect meditation room. It can be your car, a stairwell, a quiet corridor, a bathroom stall, a bench outside, any place where the noise drops and nobody demands performance from you. Here's the rule. When you feel the fog starting, the irritability, the restlessness, the blank mind, the urge and a snap, Do not push through as a point of pride. That macho habit of just grind is expensive for you. You take 5 minutes in your niche. No phone, no scrolling, no content, just silence and downshifting. If you do this early, you prevent the crash later. Most sensitive men don't burn out because of one big event. They burn out from accumulation. 1,000 small overloads with no discharge. Then at 4 p.m., your mood drops, your focus collapses, and you think something is wrong with you. It's not mysterious, it's math. Now let's talk about the nourishing inputs. This is the part almost nobody teaches, and it's where your greenhouse actually gets built. You can't just block the bad, you have to feed the good. For a high sensitivity man, beauty is not extra, it's functional medicine. Signals of safety calm your nervous system. They tell your body, at a primitive level, you're not under threat. Nourishing input can be visual, natural, light, trees, water, complex patterns in nature. Your brain likes natural fractals because they're rich, but not chaotic. 10 minutes outside can regulate you more than an hour of forcing productivity indoors. It can be tactile, clothing that doesn't irritate your skin, textures that feel steady and soft, a weighted blanket, a firm hoodie, even the pressure of a heavy comforter. Deep pressure is a known calming signal for many nervous systems. It tells your body to downshift. It can be auditory, rain sounds, brown noise, steady music without harsh spikes, anything that smooths out the edges, not as entertainment, as regulation. And here's the key: schedule this like you schedule food. Don't wait until you're starving. Sensitive men often treat recovery like an emergency measure, then wonder why they live in emergency mode. Build nourishment into the day before you crash. Now, we need to address the modern weapon, your phone. If you're constantly drained and you live online, there's a good chance you're experiencing what is basically digital assault. Your brain treats notifications like alerts, red badges like threats. Even if you consciously know it's nothing, your body doesn't care. Your body hears something is demanding you. That creates a low-level anxiety loop that never resolves because the alerts never stop. A practical move: remove frictionless stimulation. Turn off non-essential notifications. Keep your home screen clean. And here's a trick that sounds too simple, but works for a lot of men. Switch your phone to grayscale. It removes a chunk of the reward chemistry. It makes the device a tool, again, instead of a slot machine. You stop getting the same dopamine spike every time you unlock it, which reduces the urge to check. Now let's go deeper into the body side, because most sensitive men have a few biological levers that matter more than they realize. Sleep is the big one. When you're sensitive, sleep debt doesn't just make you tired, it makes you porous. You absorb more. You tolerate less. Your emotions spike faster. Your patience collapses. Your sensory threshold drops. If you want to feel like a man in control of his life, treat sleep like training, not like a suggestion. Caffeine is another lever. A lot of sensitive men are unknowingly running their nervous system on stimulants, then wondering why they're anxious and reactive. If coffee makes your thoughts race and your chest tighten, it's not a moral weakness. It's dosage and sensitivity. You may need less, earlier, or none at all. Or you may need to pair it with food so it doesn't hit like a punch. Exercise matters too, but not always the way people think. For sensitive men, the goal isn't always to hype yourself up. The goal is to discharge stress and build capacity. Heavy lifting can be excellent because it gives your system an outlet and a sense of groundedness. But if you train like you're trying to outrun your nervous system. You can overstimulate yourself. So pay attention. Do you leave workouts calmer and clearer, or more wired and brittle? Adjust accordingly. You're not chasing punishment, you're chasing regulation. Nutrition matters because blood sugar instability mimics anxiety. If you're sensitive and you skip meals, you might think you're stressed when you're actually crashing metabolically. Eat like a man who knows his mood is partly chemistry. Protein, real meals. Enough water. Basic, but it changes everything. So that's your first pillar, the greenhouse for your body. Now we move to the second pillar, your interactions. This is where most highly sensitive men struggle the most because it isn't just sensory, it's emotional absorption. You walk into a room and you know who's tense, you know who's performing, you know who's lying, you know who's about to explode. You might not even want that information, but you get it anyway. Your mirror neuron system is responsive. Other people's states leak into you. Their anxiety becomes your chest tightness. Their anger becomes your irritability. Their sadness becomes your heaviness. If you don't learn to manage this, you'll spend your life emotionally paying for other people's moods. So let's talk boundaries, but not the internet version where boundaries are just slogans. Real boundaries are nervous system skills. They're what keeps you from drowning in a room full of waves. The first interaction skill is what I call the compassion shift. Most sensitive men confuse empathy with usefulness. Empathy is feeling what someone feels. You mirror their pain. Your brain activates pain circuits and you get pulled under. If your friend is drowning, empathy jumps in without a plan and both of you drown. Compassion is different. Compassion is care without collapse. It's the ability to stay regulated while being present. It's throwing a rope from the shore. When you feel yourself getting flooded by someone else's distress, you need an internal script, not to be cold, to be clear. Say this to yourself: I can see his pain. I don't have to become it. Or, this feeling is in the room. It doesn't have to live in my body. That line creates a psychological boundary. It gives your nervous system a decision point. Then, from that steadier place, you can engage in a way that's actually helpful. Do you want advice? Or do you want me to listen? How can I support you right now? What would be useful? This is masculine compassion, calm presence. The second interaction skill is the pause protocol. Sensitive men often struggle with saying no because they feel the other person's disappointment like it's a physical sensation. You can predict the facial expression, the tone, the withdrawal, the awkwardness, and you want to fix it. So you say yes, even when you're already running on fumes. Then you resent it. Then you burn out. Then you disappear. Then you feel guilty. Then you repeat the cycle. You need a buffer. From now on, your default response to any request is, let me check my capacity and I'll get back to you. That sentence is a shield. It buys you time. It stops the instant emotional reflex of people pleasing. It gives your logical brain a chance to catch up. And in that pause, ask yourself 3 hard questions. Do I genuinely have the energy for this? Does this person leave me better or worse after contact? Does this belong in my greenhouse or is it concrete? This is not selfishness. This is leadership over your life. The third interaction skill is identity protection. A lot of sensitive men don't just feel emotions more strongly. They also internalize criticism more deeply. Someone throws a casual comment at you and you carry it for 3 days. You replay it. You wonder what it means about you. You start editing yourself. You need to understand something. Depth of processing can turn feedback into self-attack if you don't set rules. So here's a rule. Not all opinions deserve your nervous system. When someone criticizes you, separate the data from the emotion. Ask, is there a specific behavior I can improve, or is this person venting their own state? If it's data, use it. If it's projection, drop it. Your sensitivity makes you a good learner, but it can also make you an easy target for other people's unmanaged frustration. The boundary is discernment. The fourth interaction skill is selective proximity. You cannot afford to keep high drama people close out of loyalty. You will pay the bill. And the bill will be your sleep, your focus, your health, and your ability to create. Sensitive men often stay around chaotic people because they can feel their pain and they think, if I leave, I'm abandoning them. But staying and being depleted isn't noble. It's unsustainable. You are not a public utility. Choose proximity based on nourishment. Choose friendships where you can breathe. Choose environments where you don't have to armor up. And if you're a sensitive man dating, this becomes even more important. Because sensitivity doesn't mean you need someone who fixes you. It means you need someone who respects your nervous system. Someone who doesn't punish you for needing recovery. Someone who values depth, not drama. Someone who can communicate directly instead of creating constant emotional tests. If you keep choosing chaos because it feels familiar, you'll confuse intensity for love, and that will break you over time. The fifth interaction skill is controlled exposure. This is where we get practical. You don't want to hide from the world. You want to be in it without being destroyed by it. So think like a strategist. Not every day needs maximum social contact. Not every weekend needs back-to-back plans. Not every conversation needs full access to you. A disciplined, sensitive man uses cycles. He engages, then recovers. He performs, then discharges. He connects, then returns to baseline. That might look like this. After a heavy social event, you schedule a decompression ritual. A walk, a shower, quiet music, stretching, a meal alone. No phone, no talking, just resetting the system. When you build these rituals, you stop treating exhaustion as a surprise. Now, let's pull this together into something you can actually use. Here's the model. Inputs, thresholds, recovery. Inputs, what enters your system through senses and people. Thresholds, the point where you go from fine to flooded. Recovery, what brings you back down. Most men try to live with no model. They just endure until they break. You can't do that. You need to know your thresholds. For example, if you're fine in a loud place for 45 minutes, don't schedule 2 hours and pretend you'll push through. If you can do intense emotional conversations for an hour, don't stack 3 in a row. If you can handle crowds on a Saturday, don't also do crowds on Sunday and then wonder why Monday feels like depression. A lot of what sensitive men call mental health problems is actually nervous system saturation. So become a craftsman with your capacity. And now I want to address something directly to the men listening to this who feel ashamed of being wired this way. You were probably taught that sensitivity is feminine, that it makes you less of a man, that real men are unbothered. That's a cultural lie, and it costs good men their lives. Sensitivity, when disciplined, is one of the most powerful traits a man can have. It makes you perceptive. It makes you precise. It makes you loyal. It makes you creative. It makes you capable of depth. It makes you able to read situations and people before others even know what's happening. In leadership, this is a weapon. In art, it's a gift. In relationships, it's a rare form of presence. In business, it's intuition backed by information your brain actually tracked. In everyday life, it can be calm power. If you stop living like you're supposed to tolerate everything, the world doesn't need you to be louder. It needs you to be clearer. But you only get clarity if you stop bleeding energy into environments and relationships that don't fit you. So here's your assignment, and it's simple. Pick one change today, not 10. One. If noise is killing you, get the headphones and stop apologizing. If you don't have a niche, find one and use it daily for 5 minutes. If you keep overcommitting, use the pause protocol on the next request. If your phone drains you, cut notifications and simplify the screen. If your sleep is unstable, protect your nights like your future depends on it, because it does. And understand what you're doing. You're not hiding from life. You're resourcing yourself for it. A greenhouse isn't a bunker. It's an environment designed for growth. When you build yours, something happens that most people never get to see. You stop surviving and you start outperforming. You become sharper because your mind isn't overloaded. You become calmer because your body isn't constantly braced. You become more dangerous in the best way, focused, aware, disciplined. You become more creative because your system has space to connect ideas. You become more confident because you're no longer judging yourself for your wiring. And the biggest shift is this: you stop seeing your sensitivity as a problem to hide, and you start treating it as a capability to manage. That's manhood in its real form, not denial, not numbness, responsibility. You are the architect of your life. You don't get to choose your nervous system, but you do get to choose what you build around it. The modern world is loud, fast, and aggressive. It rewards men who can tolerate noise, but it also desperately needs men who can see what others miss. Men who can feel without collapsing. Men who can notice without panicking. Men who can lead with calm perception. That can be you, not by becoming less, but by becoming disciplined with your environment, your boundaries, your recovery, and your standards. Build your greenhouse. Protect your inputs. Train compassion over drowning. Use the pause. Choose your people. Choose your spaces. Choose your pace. And when you do, you won't just survive this world, you'll move through it with a depth and precision that most people will never understand, but everyone will benefit from. If this spoke to you, keep the conversation going in the comments. What drains you the most? Noise, people, screens, or emotional weight? And if you want more long-form breakdowns like this, practical psychology, nervous system strategy, and building a life that actually fits your mind, subscribe. Start with one change today. I'll see you in the next one.